Hello and welcome to the Midweek Update. It's Scott Bennett with Mike Olafson with Invest with Rules, where it's our mission to help you follow trends, follow big money, and follow risk management rules. And today we're definitely going to talk about risk management. Let's get into what's your portfolio heat. And I know the market's done really well this year. The market's done really well since the bottom of the bear market of 2022, and you could draw lines in any which way you want. But the question is well, first, we're going to talk about what is portfolio heat. Should this be part of your tool belt to know what is your risk if things go wrong? Meaning the market really turns and you get to the bottom of the range, you fall through, there's a COVID-like drop. But in general, just so you know, behind the curtain, we always calculate this. So our portfolio heat, which we'll get into, is negative 6.8%. I was talking to one of our advisory clients, and she was just like, what if the world gets really ugly and the market falls through the floor and you kind of take the stairs up and the trapdoor down? What is in theory the trapdoor if the market falls out? And for us, which we'll get to, and we'll talk about precise portfolio heat, but knowing like what's your risk. And this made me think of this a little bit too. I was listening to a podcast, and the person on the podcast said something similar to this, which is like clients are willing to stomach some percentage of loss in their portfolio, but they struggle with the uncertainty that comes during a market downturn, well, where there's otherwise no way to know how much further the decline could go. So let's say hypothetically, we're going to all teleport back to 2008, and it was like September, and the market was down 30%. And you're like, this is miserable. I'm in this pie chart portfolio. Stocks and bonds are both kind of getting hit pretty hard. And then all of a sudden, the stimulus package that they tried to pass didn't get through the House or the Senate. And the next day, the market was down something like 5 to 7% more. It's that uncertainty. It's like, how bad is this going to get? That's what that's what drives us bananas as investors. And we're trying our hardest to kind of cap that, to know that, to not have that uncertainty. So, Mike, I'm going to turn to you for a little bit more on portfolio heat.
Yeah, so really portfolio heat, like you laid out, Scott, it's really what is the potential damage that your portfolio is exposed to in the event of a downturn like Scott's talking about. So in our case, 6.8%, we should emphasize that that's liable to fluctuate a bit based on factors like hedging, which could be a positive factor, or the fact that stop losses aren't perfect. So a price may come through a stop loss. So there are factors both plus and minus that may affect that. So just to emphasize that. But what we really feel is that portfolio heat is a key tool in our tool bag of key stats. And add it to the list. And this is what we suggest you do. It's up to you, depending on how much you put into the analytics of your portfolio. But key stats like what's your batting average, meaning what percent of the time do you win? The second being the win-loss ratio. Every time you lose, what's that versus your wins? Like say your losses are small, like say $100 per trade, and your wins are large, say like $400 per trade. That's a 4-to-1 ratio. So what's that ratio? And then expectancy. Every time you go ahead and put a trade on, what can you expect? We call those key stats in our tool bag that we really help us to as we manage our portfolio to make sure we're managing risk. And then we're adding portfolio heat as this kind of this next key stat that we suggest that you use because we really do feel it's important. And also I guess Scott, it gives us peace of mind too. Just like that client you were talking to, right? Knowing that in a really significant downturn at this point, we're positioned such that we could withstand a roughly 7% down, basically a decrease in our portfolio. That's tolerable to most people in a significant downturn. And that gives, I think, peace of mind, ability to sleep at night. So that's really, to me, kind of, the bottom line to it, Scott. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, so I would add that it's kind of current price to your trailing stop is the most simplistic way to do it. But again, Mike said you can rip through trailing stops if we trade at the end of the day, but we're also not including hedging. So we follow trends. And if trends are doing really well, then that's perfect. I mean, the market's really doing really well. So, but what if the trends start to deteriorate or the trends start to create downturns? So that's exactly where we will pivot. And this is investing does come with losses. We want to keep them small, and investing does come with some uncertainty. And we're trying really hard to provide more certainty in a very uncertain world, is what we're trying to do. Because anything's possible, any news event's possible, and this is what we're calculating. And very simply, we focus on this. So I just think that we're trying really hard to not have that feeling where you wake up and you're like, the Dow Jones is down the most in history. That's probably an environment that happens either at the way top or the way bottom, and we have mechanisms to play defense. So I think that's kind of the main important takeaway is knowing your defined risk. Obviously, there's wiggle room to stops in regards to things can get gut through them. And then also hedging. So having a mechanism to say, okay, it's time to add some protection at some point, but right now, we're 10 out of 10 on an uptrend.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize too that just because we've got that portfolio heat, that doesn't mean that's going to happen. So we're still in a 10 out of 10 in terms of market health. And this is just once again our risk management. So I just want to emphasize that we're not predicting a 7% loss in our portfolio. No, we're simply saying this is how we're controlling our risk, controlling the downside, and allowing us to basically be calm, cool, collected in this sea of uncertainty.
We want this to continually to get easier on the eyes into so disclosure. Obviously, please manage your risk, manage your financial plan, manage your stops, know your portfolio heat. How applicable. But again, thank you for being on this journey with us. Reach out hello@investwithrules.com. We're here for you. Enjoy your week. We'll be on the live sheet and continually to try to make enhancements for you. All right, enjoy your day. Talk soon. Bye-bye.